the racial slurs are out of our system.
Mm-hmm.
Darac Patrick says, will you cover 50 also or over 50 also? So presumably your boy here means, is the topic of the show also pertaining to the elderly and the infirmed? Yes, it is. We will mention
I'm
that.
3.5 years away from 50.
Dude, oh my God, Mick, you're so old. You're like 2 chases old. That's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
And
Yeah.
half a chase in many other things. Probably a
In lean
quarter.
body mass, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, in lean body mass for sure.
But
Absolutely.
you make up with it for like wealth and
Mhm.
longness of nose and stuff like that.
Yeah, tribal affinities.
Tightness
for
of
sure.
wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I was more frugal. I think Chase is probably incredibly frugal. Mick, you're
Mm.
very frugal. We
I'm
know.
I don't think I'm very frugal. Like, I don't know.
What do you lash out on? What's your guilty pleasure?
It'd have to be maybe books. Like, I have like a book. Yeah, and it sounds real fucking geeky. That's like at least like over 200. I'm just like, oh, I have to get it.
What book is it?
I don't even fucking know anymore. It's like I think it was like a saga or like a poem of like ancient like Nordic shit. I was like, ooh, this sounds cool as
That's
shit.
very on brand.
It's just a bookshelf full of
Incredibly
Jordan
on brand.
Peterson and Mein Kampf and
Yeah, it's basically all that shit
Hand
right
in
here.
hand. Hand in hand.
signed copy of Starting Strength.
All right, we'll do an appropriate intro for this one. This is the Marco Pato monthly fan club meeting. For today, it's going to be for Rio Grande swimming enthusiasts. See, as soon as we started doing an actual intro, the amount of people watching just shot up exponentially, Mick.
How many are watching? I can't even see a number.
It keeps blurring on my screen between 5 and 10. Who knows? We're not really sure.
That's
Damn.
up.
That's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of people. Yeah, before it was 0. Now it's at least 5. Okay, so today's show was inspired off of one of the subreddit posts of people, mud raking and shit flinging over what are realistic expectations within your first year of training. Everyone has super lofty goals. Where do you actually line up? How do you tell if you're average? How do you tell if you're exceptional? Things like this. Sarah, I was just showing my dog off. If you remember my dog, I think that was you actually. When my dog got neutered, you were like, "Oh, the poor guy." I think that was you. If it's not, I'm hallucinating. Don't worry about it. But today we're actually talking about expectations for your first year of training. If you're not in your first year of training, how to calibrate expectations, anyways. And we have, I think, 12 form checks to go through. So, what do you guys want to start with?
Hey Sarah, are we doing a form check for you today? Because there is a Sarah with a form check. Is that you or is that somebody else?
Sarah.
There's the Jibu is.
Oh, Jibu is that?
Yeah,
Oh, we'll start
Sarah.
with Jibu then. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll start with
Well,
that.
I don't know if it's her.
Hey, we'll start with Jibu anyways. That's totally fine by me. I think these are both squats, by the way, guys. So we're going to pull these up now.
Yeah, there's 2 videos for her.
Nice. As soon as you come in, look at this service, Sarah. They can't get any faster than this. It literally cannot get any faster than this.
No wonder no one's paying for priority form checks anymore.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Unless
make
we were literally in the room, it could not be faster. Chase, how do you feel about backwards spin on the plates at the top? What does that tell you?
That's a telltale sign that the bar position is definitely not secure. It's like as we see Sarah squatting here, like she's kind of initiating the leaning over by just flexing the upper back a little bit, and then everything kind of just slams forward. So like her knee position is a little bit forward, the weight in her toes a little bit forward, and then of course you can see like the rogue there, the word rogue kind of just shift, and the E starts really spinning upwards. And then like her elbows start cranking up and stuff like that. So Sarah has to do a better job with 1, getting the bar in a stable position, and then 2, the thoracic extension of her back as she's squatting.
Yeah, I think I'd be curious to see if you let the grip pull inwards more, but then also just let the wrist bend a little bit to try to get that to be more secure. So like
that's kind of my go-to, is just letting the wrist bend.
Yeah, so just let it get to about like here and then pull that down more. I think that'd probably be very productive for you.
And plus, like Sarah with like a bunch of women too, it's like they can handle like a lot of like wrist extension. To where, like I've seen it, like it's almost like I can't even do it. Like the wrists are almost like touching the forearm. They're like totally fine.
Yeah, totally fine. Yeah, if you're trying to keep this overly straight, it may actually be sabotaging you.
Yeah.
Second to that, generally whenever I see the plate spin backwards, the person is trying to finish with their chest. They're not like extending their back, but they're just trying to rapidly get the torso angle back to vertical rather than standing up under the bar. It should be, this looks like a very new gym setup, so it's not the bar being shitty, but like the plate should almost not spin whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are the collars spinny enough on your starting strength bars with the strength field plates to actually spin if
The
someone's
sleeves, you mean?
deviating? Yeah, the sleeves, excuse me. Do they spin if
Yeah.
someone's screwing up? Do they actually give that tell away?
They will,
Yeah.
but it's hard to see because like our plates, like we place them inwards towards like it's
Right.
just an iron,
It's just flush.
yeah, so it's this iron black
Right.
plate, so it's like you can't really see that much of a detail, but
You got to
again,
put
like
some flame stickers on those. Some
yeah,
flame wheel
some
stickers.
cool shit there.
Yeah.
Like I Heart Rip stickers.
Yeah.
There is another squat video for her as well. There's 2
Yeah,
videos.
yeah. We'll check that one out now.
I think it's just 4th and 5th sets of the same workout.
Okay, 4th and 5th sets. Hopefully this one fixed everything, so we don't have to criticize you anymore, Sarah. Maybe hopefully this made our lives easier. Also, can you guys see this? So this is an outdoor gym.
Yeah,
This
this looks
sort
like
of-
it's like a barn area. It looks cool as shit.
This
Mm.
prowler strip is just like pea gravel. I'm
Damn,
gonna guess
gravel, huh?
South Africa or California.
Ooh, wow.
That's my guess, Sarah.
What's telling you the South African vibes? Because like it looks like they're on like the Kenyan safari or some shit.
I don't know. Just deep
Like you
down
could
in my
see like
heart,
an
I feel-
elephant like in the background. Slightly.
could
I
be
think
South
it's
Africa.
a bit of leopard skin print. Is that what you're talking about?
That could be. I think just the architectural design, kind of the open air. They don't have electricity there, so you just got to use natural light. I was totally off.
Wow.
Wherever it is,
South
it's warm.
Carolina.
Yeah.
Wherever it is, it's warm.
It's South Carolina. That's so
Yeah,
close
you
to
were
South
close.
Africa. Though.
Yeah.
It's
Has the
so
word south in
close.
it.
Yeah, that's what I was picking up on. I have some clients in Asheville, North Carolina. I think I don't have any South Carolinian clients actually. All my clients are from North Carolina. Chase, were you watching these squats?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing as we saw in the previous video. Like you can tell, like Sarah, you're still trying to fight for that bar position in terms of like how you were setting up and stuff. But let's think of some other ways that we can kind of help maximize this situation. So like one, like where's your eye gaze? Seems to be it's kind of changing and stuff as like you come up, you're kind of leading with your head, you're kind of raising up the chin. I'd probably stare at like where is that like a dog on the background or wherever? Is that like a
This?
You see that where the black thing right next to
that's
the,
like a duffel bag. No.
Okay, the duffel bag. So like where that area is, where like the wall and the floor meet, stare out there. Show off your boobs, stuff like that, to where you're thinking about setting the back, kind of like a deadlift as you go down. So
Yeah, like elbows down, pecs up, and just kind of squeeze into that position.
Yeah.
The bar speed is still really fast though. It's
Yeah,
still,
it looks
you still
fine.
have a lot of wiggle room. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What an is this a home gym? Is this your house? I can't imagine this being a corporate environment and then being like, oh yeah, this is insurable. And if this is a home gym, sick as hell.
What does she live? She lives like on a compound
Props
or
towards
something.
you. Yes, this could do kind of compound vibes. Okay, well, we got Tom Jardine, Milinchik. We got John Gloria. John Gloria said hello as well. We'll check out John Gloria, and then we'll go through some of the expectation things because I'm curious to hear Chase's opinion on that. Let's see, John Gloria 1. It seems like John Gloria, he got himself a Mars bar.
She said it's just a bougie gym.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
That's wonderful. That's such a bougie gym.
I feel like it's inside like a golf club or something.
Yeah, country club vibes.
Country
for
club,
sure.
yeah.
Mhm. And Chase, can you remind me if you guys have safety bars at the franchise gyms?
Yeah, we do. It's not as, I guess, what's the right, like the curvature is not the same as like a Mars bar here. So like the bar placement is nowhere near as low bar-y as that. It's just a standard, I think it's called like a Black Widow bar, which is a 33-pound bar. It kind of simulates just like a high bar with like the bar being on your chest. Still has the handles, of course, but it's nowhere near like a Mars bar.
Yeah, John Gloria has paid so much for various gym accessories, but refuses to pay for assistance in programming.
Yeah, exactly. The shit that's like very important, but
I have
at
a
least you look
slide.
cool.
I have a slide about self-sabotage. This is part of it. This is part of it for sure. Yeah. So the Mars bar 65. So what we got? 245, 255, and then okay. So this is 265-ish for Jean Gloria, or maybe 285. I'm not sure. I can't tell what these are. All right, so I think we have 3 videos of this. So I'm going to go to the third set.
Yeah, we didn't
and
even
we're
like
gonna
tell the
check.
guy what was he doing. Oh, there's multiple videos.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you were
So
just
we
like,
got
oh,
we got
fuck 'em.
3 sets of his squats. So we
Okay,
watched
good.
the first set. Now we're watching the third set.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so this is 275 on the bar,
So
and he
what
still
was
has the leanest calves in the game.
what was his issues like kind of previous? Like I thought it was like midfoot, right? Like he was kind of getting more forward
He
into
didn't
his
have
knees.
squat shoes. Did a
Oh, that's
crazy good
true.
morning and was tearing his hamstring every week.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
How do you feel about this depth, Chase?
Play it again. It's
Right there.
it's borderline. Like that one was high. Like he actually went down like a tiny bit lower beforehand, but
Yeah.
man, what's fucking you up, John, is just like watch your knees. Like they don't move one bit in terms of how forward they go. Like they bend very nicely, but like they stop pretty damn soon. Whereas like the knee position probably needs to go a little bit more forward than that.
Yeah.
And that's
If
going to allow you to get that
your-
little bit extra in depth.
Yeah, if your lifting shoes gave you an extra heel insert, one of them to tilt your shit forward, some of them do have hard inserts, put that in there. Get your knees more forward, keep your chest up, push the handles up a little bit more, like try to think more front squat. Because I remember, he had the same exact problem, Chase, when he was doing just a low bar squat.
Yeah.
And it was just like such a crazy good morning that he was like, I'm getting hamstring bruising from squatting. And we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that should
What
be
is he doing?
an impossibility.
Yeah. So this Mars bar is certainly helping out, but you still need to get the knees more forward. And on a good rep, you think depth is fine?
Yeah, if he's definitely bending his knees a lot more, I think he's fine. Like they're shoved out nice enough. Like the back angle really isn't changing that much. But John, as you get heavier with this, like if that's 315, you're going to go back to doing a stripper squat where your ass is coming up first, and you're going to start tweaking your hamstring again.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, I think bar speed on this is pretty solid for 275. Yeah, I don't mind these particularly much on anything else. I am trying to go a little bit deeper. Yeah, I think I always try to express people, you should be like told when to come back up. There's like if you are just popping out of whatever your depth is at an arbitrary point that you have decided mentally, that likely isn't depth for you, right? You need to keep going down until you get a quad stretch, you feel a pop coming out of your adductors and your hamstrings, like you feel like you're either mobility limited or some sort of stretch. That's how you actually find that stretch reflex and that bounce, is going down until you just don't, and then you pop out of that position. If you can like consciously will yourself to go deeper, generally you should have been going deeper always and forever. You'll meet some people who are super flexible and limber who can just completely bottom out with no loss of back extension, and then for them, then they'll have to pick a spot to bounce out of.
Yeah, they have to be taught what is actually depth, whereas everyone else just needs to go lower.
Yeah, that's me. I squat like just because it's like half Asian-ish, hips are super willing to
that
just
time you spent in the circus.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm 5'1". Super
all those
easy. Yeah.
backhand springs you're doing and stuff like that, jumping off ropes.
Exactly. Yeah. So like for me, I have to actively think not getting my I can actually touch my butt to my ankles, like literally, I have to consciously tell myself to stand back up. Patrick said, what squat shoes do you recommend? What's your general go-to, Chase?
Man, I like my own that I've been using, the squat shoes of the Nike Romaleos 2. I like the Romaleos in general, except for the threes. The threes are shit, but
what's wrong with the threes?
Man, I ripped out both tongues in mine. They weren't built the same. Like
really?
They had, so the twos, they had 2 metatarsal straps, kind of like the Rogue shoes like this guy's wearing. I like the 2 straps because it feels just more secure on the foot.
Right.
The laces were more durable. The eyelets were way more durable. It was just cheaply made, the threes. And
Interesting.
then they came out with the fours, and they basically took the twos and just revamped them to make them look all new
Just
and
new
shiny
coat of
for the
paint.
fours. Yeah, basically.
Addy Power. Addy Powers are solid. I've like if you're gonna wear them a ton, I always say don't get the ones that sort of have like this sort of like plastic skin around them. You know what I'm talking about? Like you want it to be like either a canvas or like a leather, kind of like the Dewins here. Like the Dewins aren't gonna crack or anything like that over
No.
time. Yeah, so Addy Power 3, I believe, are pretty solid for most people's normal use. This is Milinchix. We've seen him plenty of times over the years. This is our yarmulke wearing friend. He was the one. If you can see, I'm not sure if you can see this, Chase, but he's the one who puts the
Oh
little
yeah, he
boots
has a
under his
shim.
foot. Yep, he has a shim. Yeah. We mostly talked about it from him squatting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like he has 1, 2, 3. He almost has 4 plates on the bar here, if not 4 plates.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, this actually looks pretty good. The only thing that I could see is I just don't really like the knee position. And what I mean by
Yeah.
that is like he's just really extending his knees. Like you're doing a great job of pushing Milinchik, but you're like overdoing it now.
It's like the
So
pacing is a little bit weird.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like right there, he kind of like almost stiff legged it halfway up. So just keep
Mhm.
the knees bent just a second longer and let the shoulders lead out of the bottom.
Right. So when you are cueing people, so the one thing that I found that's been very helpful for this is like when I'll tell people to squeeze their pecs through to to
Mhm.
get that extension going, I'll just
Mhm.
say pull through that. So you pull through,
Gotcha.
you get the
Yeah.
bar moving by pulling the pecs up. What other strategies do you have to kind of fix this pacing issue to get
So the
them to
knee.
pull that torso up?
Yep. So I got the knees, I got the shoulders cute, and then also like I would cue the armpits or the lats here too, because if it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of loose right there, so the way I kind of describe it is like there's two ends of the lats that are working. So you have the one end that's like where the belt is, like kind of towards like the sacrum and the hip. That shit's locked in place because the low back is doing its job. Everything is staying tight there. But then the other end where it inserts at, kind of like in the armpit arm area, that usually is the one that always goes. So now
Okay.
you have this tight area leading out of the bottom because this other end is a slack and loose and it can't transmit the force needed to from the legs into the barbell.
How often do you have to think about packing your own lats in any of your pulls? Do you think about that at all
Um,
consciously?
More so just like in the Olympic lifts whenever it gets heavy, but whenever it comes to like
Just
the
to make
deadlift,
sure it doesn't fall off the shins, off the
yeah,
drive, off the
exactly.
floor.
Other than
Okay.
that, like I don't really think about it.
Okay. Yeah, I think I haven't thought about that in so long that sometimes I forget that people don't have just
Yeah.
giant bat wings that can immediately handle the problem.
Hmm.
This guy, we didn't talk about this guy's lats and his setup. This is Mr. T.
He looks nothing like Mr. T.
He looks nothing like Mr. T. This is indeed true. And then his bins back here say Pee Wee Patch, and I'm not sure what that means. I think Pee Wee Baseball. I'm sure. I'm sure it's Pee
What
Wee
if it's
Baseball.
like Pee Wee Herman's like skin or something like
Logo.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, insignias for Pee Wee Patch. All right, so it seems like we have 225. I can't tell if that's a 25 or a 35. Let's say we have something in the range between 295 to 305, 315 on the
Hmm.
bar here. This is a very old school deadlift. This is what I feel like I would see
325.
this.
Sorry.
What is it, Jay? What is it, Mick?
325.
325? Okay, this is
Yep.
325. I feel like I would have seen this deadlift like 10 years ago in a public gym. I
Yeah.
don't see
Or like in
deadlifts
a
like
high
this
school
nowadays.
still.
Yeah. How would you help Mr. T out, Chase?
Man, so one, like his stance is all right. I'd probably go a little bit narrower with his heels, but
Yeah.
the start position in terms of like how close he is to the bar, completely fucked. Like he's maybe 2 inches, maybe
Mm-hmm.
an inch and a half away from the bar. So we got to get him a little bit closer. And then also, like as you can see, like his knees and shins don't really change from there. So it's
Yeah.
like
So you see
he's
this air, guys? Is this
mhm,
visible for you?
Mhm.
Okay, so
yeah.
this distance, he literally gets this thing off the ground that far away.
Hmm.
Yeah, it starts moving up right there.
And like the shins don't really move, so that's kind of like the indicator of like he's in a just a bad position. And then also because he's bouncing it, like he's literally just turning this into a stiff leg about like
Mm-hmm.
halfway up after the bounce. So It's just going through the 5-step setup, making sure you're real patient with each step, getting uncomfortable in terms of like your back extension, the stretch in your hamstrings that you're going to feel, and just how bad it's going to suck at the start.
Yeah.
And then get to learn to love that.
Yeah, the 5-step setup needs to happen like every rep, not just the first one. And to be doubly, triply clear, we do not want you to touch and go your deadlift. The bench is touch and go for almost all purposes. The squat is, you bounce out of the bottom. The press and the deadlift, they chill at the bottom for a second. It's interesting because like on the later reps here, where he sits it down, he's sitting it down right over midfoot.
Yeah, he has to.
Yeah, like if this was exactly, yeah. So if this was his actual starting position, this would be fine.
Yeah, be totally fine.
Yeah, we just want you to move the heels in a little bit more. But in terms of sustainability, it's you can produce a heavier deadlift in the long run if you do 5 separate reps as opposed to one really long rep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just kind of like a low RDL for you.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It's not bad. 325 pound RDL.
That's the fucked up part is like, dude, if you were actually do this right, like that would literally be like 365 the next session and be totally easy.
Yeah. Yeah, those little breaks, like a lot of people do not appreciate how helpful taking a second at the top of the bench is to rebrace. Or how helpful, like actually pacing yourself is. Most people just really rush through everything. Any other parting shots for Mr. T?
No, just read the 5-step setups. But like to piggyback what you were saying, Alex, is like a lot of people just don't do it heavy enough. Like, granted, like if we slap like another 20 pounds on this guy, he wouldn't see as much of what he's doing now. Or the same thing on the bench where it's like people will actually take the time to get squirmed up because they have to get into a proper position in order to push, right? Whether they know so or not, like their body won't allow them just to completely go down and fuck themselves up.
I think I'm very curious to hear if he's been doing this on an LP and he has just been doing these RDLs from 135 to 325.
He probably has.
Very curious.
Started at 225.
Because that's pretty cool in any situation. So good for you,
Yeah, even though you did it wrong, you're getting stronger.
Yeah. It shows that you have a lot of wiggle room. 422. All right, we got Nicholas Webb. Do you guys remember Nicholas Webb?
Name sounds familiar.
I'll read what he wrote. He goes, deadlift 305 for 3 reps, trying to use the mixed grip to keep hold on the bar, trying to go without a belt to try and get better lower back extension.
Okay, so to start, we're using double overhand. And he's using a belt.
And he has a belt. This is a fucking liar.
There are 2 videos. The other video may be the other. Maybe the good one. Yeah, I feel like I saw this guy last year deadlifting a very similar weight.
Yeah. This is a different video, I think, because he said 305 and that's not 305.
Yeah, I'm sure it's he's making some amount of progress. This seems like a warm-up set. Okay, that was a double overhand warm-up. Let's check the next one.
Yeah, it's mixed grip. Yeah, okay.
All right, here we go. Beltless mixed grip. Chase, how do you feel about people wearing knee sleeves on the deadlift?
It doesn't bother me.
You don't care?
Like the science and like the reasoning why, like it doesn't make sense because it doesn't really do anything. Like there's not much knee flexion going on. It's just knee extension. And again, like he's not doing it fast enough to where he could maybe piss off anything. So it's just like, okay, you or one either just it's scraping your shins because you don't know how to set up properly, or 2, you're fucking it up on the way down because you don't know how to get your knees out of the way. So it's like simple shit that you can fix, but I don't know. Other than that, you're just lazy and just don't want to take them off.
I think these people are just prone to shin scraping, and I've also noticed that whenever people have the knee sleeves on, they're also prone to, on the descent, squatting the bar down on the descent. Yeah, I have used knee sleeves and elbow sleeves probably less than 5 times in my entire life, and I've just never found any need to use them. Maybe that opinion will change when I'm mix age and I'm 57 years old.
And you're geriatric.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the bar catch on them though? Is that an issue?
I see people have the bar catch on them all the time.
Yeah, I've had that too.
Yeah. How's the back extension? Are we okay with it? I don't have any problems.
Man, that first rep was pretty damn good.
First rep was clean, yeah.
As he gets tired, he gets a little bit sloppy with it. Just take your time, finish packing it in there. Um, a good way to kind of do this, and I do this with a lot of my people, is like if you're ever struggling about like, let's say like this is your fourth rep, and you're just like, man, like I could tell shit's been rounding. I tell people to kind of like flex their back, so now they know what they're doing. They can feel the bad
Compare
shit, and then
contrast.
it's like the cat cow pose, and then
Yeah.
now we're gonna go back into a more extended position. Maybe do that one more, from round to flat, and then now we push as we go back into the flat position, and that solves it every single time.
Teo's here. How's it going, Teo? Teo, did you send in any videos this time? Did you send in any sick posing routines for us, Teo? Yeah, I like the contrast point of cat cow. Another thing I like to tell people is that, let's say arbitrary figures, so don't hold me to the figures, but if it takes half a second to set your back on the first rep, the second one is going to take like 0.6 seconds, and then the third one is going to take 0.7, and so on. What a lot of people do is they will give, bracing, pausing, setting their back, anything, they'll give it the same time interval, but they won't be able to produce the same result. You didn't play my bail video? Interesting. Okay, we'll go back and check that, Johnny. But yeah, so like let's say, for rep number 1, that half second may be more than enough time to get your back looking amazing. But by the time rep 5 comes around, I think this is a triple, so just rep 3, that half a second is not enough time. And this is why it's really helpful to have a coach there who can literally give you a pull command, and they're going to say, set it, keep going, set it, because they can actually see what's going on. Yeah, because otherwise you need to have a really good sense of awareness and also have a really good internal clock to say, okay, that's not there yet. I need to give this another half second, and then keep running it. Is there anything else like that, Chase, for you, where you try to make sure people give it more time as the set goes on, or is it just deadlift back extension?
No, it's kind of both, because I want them to have more time extending the back, so it's like it's all kind of combined into one. Generally, like I don't really have anybody just going like, okay, it's time to grip and rip type shit, because we've solved that at the very start through the teaching progression of the lift. So it's like, yeah, it's just they just have a hard time getting uncomfortable in that position and then staying there with the extension.
This guy has a very organized basement. Good for him.
Who's this?
This is JT Way.
T-Way.
John Thomas Way.
315 by 2. That's what he said.
Yeah, 315 high bar double. Chase, have you tried one of these shirts, by the way, the squatting shirts? Have you ever tried one of these?
I don't think I can. It's in my DNA not to.
Yeah.
Mick,
have you ever tried one?
Cloth.
I don't even know what it is. What does it mean?
So you know how some graphic tees will have like thick kind of sticky rubber is their like logo? This is that, but on your upper back. So the bar doesn't move. Whose police sirens are these?
That's mine.
Mick, did someone say something bad about the government?
Yeah, it's just another lockdown.
Lockdown. They have to give somebody their vaccine right now. All right, Mick. I'm turning your volume down, Mick. But okay, yeah, I think I agree with you, Chase. I don't think I would ever actually buy one of these. I think if you're doing like specific strongman-y stuff, I guess maybe.
Yeah, like I could see that, where it's like you need, like if we're doing like an Atlas stone and that was somewhere like, in the front part of my shirt.
Right.
But again, like you have chalk, like you have tacky that you're using, so it's like, no, maybe like if you're like in a Globo gym type setting and like the benches were just real fucking shit, because one, they're just like they're plastic and everyone keeps spraying them down to clean it. So yeah, maybe, but I don't really see that in this situation being helpful.
Yeah, because it's like the position we advocate the bar to be in has a definable notch on it. And this guy isn't like an older, fat hunchback guy where there's no definable landmarks. The only time I've ever recommended these is if someone has no landmarks on their back whatsoever. If you're just like the hunchback of Notre Dame, you got nothing to do. That's the only time. In terms of a double, this was really fast. He had plenty of reps in reserve. Any other technical notes?
No, man, this is good.
It's a good
as
spot,
far as just like the bar position, just trying to nail that a little bit. kind of a little bit loose on that second rep into the bottom, but other than that, it's
Do you mean like
pretty
back
damn good.
extension, or what was loose?
Yeah, like the low back a little bit. He's kind of
Low back
getting
was loose.
rounded
Okay.
too, like in his upper back. So just the back is just getting rounded, kind of getting pulled down a
Chase,
little bit.
why does that matter?
So now he doesn't have a solid bounce, right? So again, kind of similar to what I was saying with like the guy deadlifting. So it's all about the force transfer here. So we got
Mhm.
the legs of the musculature of the joints of the knees and hips trying to stand up, right? But it can't do that unless the back is rigid, because that's how it's going to shove all of its force through that and then up into the barbell. But if it's slacked and your back is in extension, the hamstrings, what their role is now doing is changing. Their knee position is now changing. So you've basically now tilt your the squat to where you're no longer in the midfoot, maybe.
Yeah.
Everything's just now harder. There's a lot of shit going wrong with the physics here.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people say this is just like biomechanics hoo-ha, and they're like, this is totally bullshit, or like
Yeah.
this doesn't matter. The form doesn't have to be that specific. There's plenty of things like people make those arguments all the time. If you were to look at, if you could have like a velocity tracker on his second rep, when his lower back is getting loose and he gets a shitty bounce out of the bottom, there you're going to see bar speed or velocity deviations. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to see that fall a little bit, and then once he gets his shit back together, it pick back up.
Yeah.
As compared to his first rep where it was like super stable. And maybe you could take, he does 3 or 4 doubles for this workout, and then he has pretty good form on some other ones. You're not going to see that blip.
Yeah.
The reason I think, and I wish we kind of expressed this more. I try to express this to everybody in my roster. It's like the reason we're picky about form is because it directly correlates to bar speed.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the bar's in front of midfoot, it's also going to be a little bit slower,
Yeah.
like if you lose a specific position, it's also going to be a little bit slower. And like what we know about strength is like you want to move the heaviest weight you can really fast, and it's really good for you. If it's slow and shitty and grindy and just kind of all over the place and not good, you're not going to reap the best rewards out of it. So like you might as well just focus on the technique because you're already doing it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the difference too of like if this guy was in a meet prep, like him making the third attempt or not, because now
Right.
it's a small deviation to where all that small shit will start accumulating because the load now matters.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of like how efficient he is underneath the barbell with his movement and his setup and all that shit, all that stuff now comes in together, and it's going to be the make or break time of if he's going to get this or not.
Yeah, because like a lot of people, and I've been hearing this, more and more from certain camps. They'll be like, "Why do you care?" Or like, "Just stop caring and train." A lot of things like that, and it's just like, yeah, like training matters for a lot of people, and it matters like a lot, so the
Yeah.
like disregarding technique thing is just
Yeah.
not something I
Also,
think
yeah,
is
being
reasonable.
in pain fucking matters for a lot of people too.
Exactly, yeah,
But
like
yeah.
having an enjoyable, consistent experience and not
Yeah.
being in pain. All right, so this is Stephen Carroll, who's been in the chat before. I've recognized that name. He has a mustache now. He has a lot of camera angles.
He likes the crotch
I'll give you
shot
his
for sure.
notes.
Oh, yeah, we got some notes, Mick. I'm ready.
Yeah, he said, I've been squatting for years and honestly, it's super weak. My deadlift is up to 450, working in the low 400s. My squat is only in the 300s, working in the high 200s. However, right now, for several weeks, my hip is preventing any heavy squats. So I'm essentially bodybuilding, doing lots of leg press, hip adductors, abductors, and very light squats. If it doesn't hurt during deadlift, so I'm training that as usual. So I'm wondering if there's anything in my squat looks like it could be causing the pain. I have a constant sharp pain around my greater trochanter.
Trochanter.
Trochanter, whatever it is that surrounds it, is very angry.
Right, so he just means the exterior portion of his hip because that's like the
Mhm.
biggest landmark he could identify. Okay, well, I think this is a Honda Pilot or a Honda CRV. I think is what I see in the
I'm
background.
done. Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it, mate.
Anyone else have any thoughts? Yeah, this is still going, by the way. So this is 2.5 minutes. I think he just got a shit ton of angles of him squatting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Doing all this
Chase.
warm-ups and
What's
stuff.
your immediate reflex here?
I don't like the knee position, man. So
Mm.
kind of follow that up. Let's think of like the musculature involved here. So like we've got the quads, they're doing their job with, where they insert at with like the quadriceps tendon, and then, where they originate up into like the higher end of the thigh. Like they're doing their job of opening and closing the knee, or not really closing the knee, but definitely opening it. But as he's going forward, there's some other shit on the lateral side that could be bothering or experiencing the pain that Steven here is feeling. So you have like an IT band, which is like this huge swath of muscle or fascia on the side of your leg that it wraps around like the lateral part of the knee up to like the lateral thigh and hip. And as you kind of get more and more into your knees, it starts getting very aggravated because it's not operating the way it should be. And people start getting some IT band issues. And it just feels like shit.
Have you felt that before yourself, Chase?
Me personally, no, but I've had several
I
clients who
haven't
get
either.
that, and once
Yeah.
they get their knee position fixed and they actually
Mhm.
start sitting back into their hips at the bottom, it goes away.
What's the most helpful angle for you to pick this out on? Is it that front
Definitely
angle? Or do
the
you like
side.
the side?
Really,
Okay.
I can see it all, but like it's more blatant here because it's like what the knee should be doing is once they bend. So like you can play this one like it should freeze right there, but it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It
So
just
the
keeps.
whole thing is just slouching
Yeah, it's just
forward.
pushed forward. It's just
Right.
pushed forward.
Yeah, and it's like when these people come out of the bottom, it looks like everything's coming out of the quads, like the knees
Yeah.
are pushing back, the torso's coming back, everything's going back and up. So like, if you were to see this guy, you'd be like, okay, no, it's very possible, like, his quads are receiving a disproportionate amount of the work. He's having some quad irritation, but he's saying he's having hip irritation. So then we
Yeah.
have to, figure something else. How do you feel about his stance? I think it's too wide and gross. What do you think, Chase?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit too wide too. Like
Yeah.
right there, it's a lot enough warm up to where maybe like he can get away with it, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll probably see like some knee cave too, like some knee valgus,
Yeah.
and that could
Yeah. Then
also be a big time issue too.
it's
Yeah,
all tilting in too much, I
yeah,
think. Like whenever people tell me that they're having hip irritation, my immediate thing, I don't even have to see it, is going to be narrow the stance. If
yeah,
it's exterior or lateral hip
yeah.
irritation, it's going to be widen the stance. If someone has like medial hip irritation into the groin, it's going to be narrow the stance.
Hmm.
That's a really safe, rule to shoot by the cuff on.
Yeah.
And as a Honda CRV driver, you have giant testicles that you need to get out of the way with.
Well,
This,
also too, like now, wonder why people are maybe wondering like why he's not feeling this on the deadlift. So let's think about like
mhm,
that knee position again. So like, what is different between the squat here where the bar is versus where the bar is on the deadlift? Well,
mhm.
the bar is in front and his knee position can't change in terms of
Yeah,
it can't get any more forward. So
his
he's
legs are this far apart
yeah,
versus this far
exactly.
apart.
Exactly. So he's totally fine. His legs are bound in by his grip being on the outside of his feet. So he's doing the shit that we're kind of telling him to do with the squat, but just on the deadlift in terms of like how he's setting up.
Yeah, this is a good rep to see this on. You see how everything's kind of slouching in and down
Mhm.
together? This is kind of what we want to avoid. So definitely pull the stance in.
Mhm.
How do you feel about just the actual toe angle? Do you think this toe angle's fine, or do you think he needs to change that as well?
Mm, I don't think it's too bad. Maybe bringing in just a tiny bit, but again, I think also if you just narrow the stance, like the knees are going to kind of get back over the
Yeah.
toes. So I really wouldn't fuck with the toe angle, but definitely the spacing in between the heels and then
Mm-hmm.
getting him to use his hips in the squat for sure.
100% agreed. And the rest of it looks solid. Like the grip is solid. Like
Yeah, it looks
you're
great
leaning
everywhere
over,
else.
back extension is good. Yeah, the garage is pretty organized. Like there's not this I would say is more of a setup error rather than like a movement error. Like anything you're doing quote wrong in the movement is a byproduct of the setup from the stance being too wide. Um, any advice, AM or PM lifting time? Any evidence to suggest body benefits from either or non-issue? AM training seems to suck for most people. It's just hard to be that aroused to pull a heavy weight that early in the morning. It takes
Hmm.
a long time to adapt to.
Hmm.
Most people do their best work from like noon to 3. So
Yep.
if you live in Spain, you could take a nice siesta, stroll into the gym in the afternoon. Chase, what time do you normally train?
It's about the 1:30 to about 3:30
Yeah,
mark.
that's exactly when I lift as
Yeah.
well because
I
I'm
just
just like, ooh,
that's whenever I felt the best, and I've also
it's
done
when,
like early morning stuff. I've done
yeah.
late night stuff, and it
Mhm.
just feel like shit either
It's when
one.
you feel the best. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If you can organize your schedule around that, that's ideal. But otherwise, I would say
Yeah.
PM over AM always.
Again, yeah, and these are
Yeah.
like some anecdotal stuff, but like I think there's actual like
There's actual evidence on this for
there's
sure.
yeah, there's an evidence of like people waking up, and it's like usually about like the 5 or 6 hours after they wake up. That's whenever they do the best, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, because if you're training so close to bed that you're fucking your sleep up, that's not good.
Yeah.
If you are losing sleep from waking up too early, that's not good.
Yeah.
You want to treat yourself just like the most leisurely racehorse that you could possibly be.
Yep.
You want to be like fat, happy, super well slept. Ideal conditions are middle of the afternoon. Second to that, it's early evening. How much do you think this guy weighs, and how tall do you think he is? By the way, did he say that, Mick?
No, I don't think he did.
Okay. Yeah, gain some weight, dude. Also. Yeah. Bodybuilding is actually good for you in this case. You're a very thin gentleman. Yeah, do more chin-ups. Any other parting shots for Steven, Chase?
No, I think we covered it with like the stance on the squat and just the positioning and stuff like that.
Okay. And then also, I mean, like low 300s, high 200s for most of his squat work and deadlift in the 400s.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. Like,
I don't think that didn't strike me as weird.
no, I didn't either. Like, if let's say like he's doing like a 4x5 or like a 5x5 at like 295, and then he's squatting like 365 for like a triple or even like a set of 5. Yeah, that's totally normal. And then he's pulling like a set of 5 at 415. Yeah, that's fine.
That's actually very normal.
Yeah.
With the way that I like to bias my programming, I think the squat takes longer for people to really come into their own in terms of technique, but also in terms of like joint integrity. So I'm not in a rush on the squat whatsoever. I'm not in a rush whatsoever on the squat. Like with the deadlift, I want that to have such a long runway of being already strong, doing a ton of chin-ups. Your lower back is it's super healthy. It's in a really good place. And then that's when you can start piling on the squat intensity as opposed to running them both full steam ahead.
And just like the deadlift is way easier than a fucking squat. Like you're gonna be better at it. It's just how the nature of the two exercises are.
Yeah. Chase, do you remember the guy who was working out outside with all the makeshift equipment?
Can you bring up the video, Alex?
You remember this guy? Okay. Let's see. All right, this is Tom Jardine, everybody. He's a Canadian man, if that tells you anything. Is this the only clip that you have, Mick, or were there other ones?
I think so. Yeah, I'd have to go back through all the live streams to find when we form checked him, but this is the one that we pulled out.
Yeah. So during COVID lockdowns, particularly in Canada, which are even more hilarious than here.
Oh fuck.
He had a whole thing. He had like a metal frame bed with
yeah,
and he had like some PVC that he attached it to his
that's
deadlift.
Cool as fuck.
Do you not remember this guy, Chase?
No, I wasn't on the stream. That's Rusty.
Yeah, that's Rusty.
Ah, it's Rusty.
Yeah. Oh, I remember this stream. I was actually on a balcony in Philadelphia in my friend's garden in like a little patio. I was in the middle of a road trip and I was like, I need to do this stream. It's very important.
And you still don't know where to put the microphone.
Yeah, it's just
2.5 years later.
It's all over the place.
Obviously, in front of my eyeball is the most efficient. That's where the audio comes from.
But yeah, Chase. So this guy, he was just doing squats with a log, and then he tied the cinder blocks to the log, and then he made like a lever-based sort of, let's say like deadlift sled, where he had a pipe running under the edges of a bed frame, so he could grab the pipe and not the frame. And then he just put rocks and logs and stuff on the bed frame, and he would lift it up.
Oh, sweet.
Like that. And then you know, I remember, I think there was some sort of, I forget if it was email or if he watched the show and commented on it. But he was like, yeah, whenever it feels too easy, I just throw another rock on or throw some more logs in the bed frame.
Just rock number 2 on there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Tom Jardine. Here's him, you know, in the Canadian outdoors.
That's cool as fuck.
Yeah. Do you remember, Mick, how he said he racked this? How he got this on his back? That's the part I forget about.
But I think no,
he walked into like the trees.
It looks like he's walking into the tree. I reckon he's actually built a little rack in the trees.
Like there's a hook.
Yeah. I got to save this for the next time people tell me that they can't train for logistical reasons, and I'll be like, you need to fuck off. You need to get it together. Okay, yeah. So that's Tom Jardine. That's the deep lore of the show. Now we need to see him in an actual gym.
It's just not the same.
Here's him now. Depth is great. I think this is just a double, maybe a triple. What are your thoughts, Chase?
First one was definitely high, and
First,
then
yeah. Second one was spot on.
second one was a little bit better with the depth. But
Okay.
the bigger thing too is that he's just leading right out of the bottom with
Mm-hmm.
his chest, or I shouldn't say out of the bottom, but like halfway up, definitely all chest here.
Yeah.
So that was definitely, and you can tell by like the bar speed slowing down, even though like he's close to the lockout, it's very gonna just slow down drastically. So what Sardine here has to do is that he just has to stay bent over a little bit longer, keep his eyeballs down, like lean over, try to make your glasses fall off as you're coming up.
And then we also see the plate spinning backwards on the second rep, which is exactly what we talked about with Sarah. So when you're pulling the torso back like this, the plates are going to spin back. This is a good indicator that you're going from, like, if you just lead with the chest the whole time, oftentimes the plate won't move because the torso angle is consistent. But if you go like hips and then chest, that's when the plates, you throw them backwards. Yeah. So how do you feel about the depth on the second rep?
It's still borderline. Like
Borderline? Okay.
I'm in the mindset of if it looks questionable, it's high.
Right there.
Like right there, that's parallel. It
Okay.
needs to be below parallel. So
2 inches down. What do you want?
what I would do is this: I want more knee flexion into this. So put his knees a little bit more forward, and that's going to drop his ass down a little bit. Because
Okay.
like his shin hasn't changed worth a damn, and
Right.
he doesn't seem like the type of anthropometrically built person to where he's going to have vertical shins in the bottom of the squat.
Mm-hmm. Also, with a little bit of detective work, it seems as if the personal trainer is having this woman do inclined push-ups off of the
That's very
barbell.
advanced. Very advanced.
Bam! There we go. We saw it. We thought you could hide, but you can't. Yeah.
Is that what you're laughing at? You're laughing about the eyebrows comment.
I was laughing at the eyebrows comment. Blarg I'm Dead said some wild eyebrows on Alex. Yeah, so every time my eyebrows get cut and my nose gets broken, they get larger. So 20 years from now, it's going to be insane. It's going to be fucking
one nose broken a few times then.
Crazy. Yeah, genetically broken across, thousands of years in the desert escaping.
Get out of my town.
Yeah.
Crack.
But yeah, like every time I have a big bruise or like an egg here, it's just like builds up a little bit more, and they're just getting just bigger and bigger.
That's awesome. Just the calluses are building in your eyebrows.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, and then the nose thing, like each time it gets cracked, there's just like another little. It used to be way thinner and smaller, I promise. It's just getting more and more now. I average like 2 cracks a year, I think.
Damn.
And it's just worse and worse. Yeah. I'm at the point now where I'm having to use nose spray every night to like breathe. I think I need deviated septum surgery.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Sure.
I think I've got that as well.
Yeah.
Is that why you put me and you next to each other every stream? So people like, it makes your nose look smaller than mine. Is that?
Yeah, that could be it. But yeah, so back to Tom. How much of this was influenced by him learning how to squat with a log?
Dude, I'm gonna say it's a lot because
I
like
think a
the
lot
log is literally like, let's say like 3 inches wider in diameter of like where it is on his back. So it's like his positioning of like how to stabilize that is going to be mostly more chest up because it's just how he's going to have to hold it. But yeah, he may have fucked himself up a little bit there.
If I take a peek like in here, if I'm looking right here, the bar looks a little bit low to me, honestly.
Yeah.
On his shoulders even. He's just used to just holding a giant object.
Yeah, he's just used to doing shit weird.
Like this. I'm curious. Yeah, Blarg. Yeah, what I'm going for is I want to have really hairy like shoulders at some point. And then hairy hands. That's the goal. If I can get full Saudi Arabian on it. Let's see. If we had any more to go through. We did Mr. T, we did JT, we did John Gloria. I think that was it. Yeah, we're already 50 minutes in and we haven't touched the topic of the show whatsoever. Okay, yeah, we're gonna speed run the rest of this, boys. This is gonna be an insulting speed run. Chase, let's say we have some guy who's 5'10", he weighs 180 pounds. He walks into your starting strength franchise gym. And then he says, "Hey, how strong am I going to be in like 6 months?" What do you tell him?
Man, that kind of depends on how much you're willing to gain in body weight. Like if you're a younger guy, you're definitely going to see your squat. Let's say if we started out at squatting, 125 that day, we're going to easily see it jump up into the twos. If he's pressing like 65, we're going to see it pretty close to 135, maybe
Okay.
115, somewhere around there. And then
Mm-hmm.
benching, let's say 135, we're going to be close to 200, if not close to like 205, somewhere around there. The deadlift, we're going to start at 135. I would say, yeah, you're going to see that going to like close to like 275 or so. It's
Okay.
like
Chin
easily.
ups. Let's say no
Chin
chin ups to start. He sucks. He's unathletic. Zero chin
Um,
ups.
I say like one or two or three, somewhere
Okay.
around there,
Do
like
you
a low
find that
number.
that normally lines up with people's expectations, or like what
No.
they think is reasonable? What do people think?
One, it's either they're severely undershooted. They're like, oh wow, like I thought I was just gonna be like, gain like 10 pounds on my squat or something like
Like
that
it'd be
because they,
so nice to deadlift 200 one day.
yeah,
Yeah.
because well, they're used to that because of like whatever silly ass program has made them, gone on like a 4 week excursion
Right.
of trying to build strength or whatever boot camp thing, or they're vastly exacerbated by like, oh, I thought I'd be squatting 405 now. It's like,
Okay.
no, you're not a genetic freak. You're literally like
Yeah.
36 and now trying to
Yeah.
starting
You can
strength.
jump 10 inches off the ground. You're not
Yeah,
gonna.
you're not going to be in the NFL. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's good. That's super reasonable where that lines up. I've
Mhm.
actually found a lot of people thinking that like a 315 squat, a 365,
Yeah,
deadlift is just like freakish. They're like, what? I'm not going to be in the,
I have to. Yeah.
I'm never going to, they're like, I'll never do that. Yeah, I found that to be super typical, and that has to be one of my things. And it's kind of a good selling point of being like, hey, like you're going to be, and I'll tell this to most like big guys. Like if I get a guy who's like 6 foot tall, 6'1", I'll be like, you'll be stronger than me in like 2 years, and I've been trying at this for like 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's super optimistic. So linear progression, expectations for your first 6 months. You should expect that you should be done with your LP in 6 months. You shouldn't expect that you should still be on your LP. I would say most people, I'll say, hey, this sort of this sort of easy period that'll last on the short side 3, on the long side 4.5, 5. Is that pretty fair,
Mhm.
Chase?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, Sarah said there are people who are doing brow transplants now. So I could get Chase's, and Chase's could get mine.
Oh fuck, dude! I want some
Yeah.
meaty eyebrows.
Yeah. He'd be like, why is this portion just olive colored? I'll ask my plastic surgeon. I have a really good plastic surgeon client.
You
I'll
could
ask
probably
him about
sell.
that.
You could probably like shave them and sell them to some guy as a wig.
To Locks of Love for a little for children who've
For
lost
little
their eyebrows.
Some guy who needs
alopecia
like the rest of a
children.
comb over or something.
Yeah, little alopecia combers. We could put them in your widow's peaks, Mick. Well, I could give you an
Yeah.
eyebrow, and you
I
could just
actually reckon
patch.
you could put
You could
most of them
patch them
there.
up. Yeah. Yeah, my dad's eyebrows are crazy. They're not
You like
getting
braid
bigger
them?
like mine because no one's hitting them, but like sometimes they'll just have one that's just like 2.5 inches long.
Oh, that is
And I'll be
awesome.
like, what
That's so
So
happened?
fucking cool.
I'll be like, what the hell's
When
going
do you,
on, man?
what,
This is
what point in
crazy.
your life do you not care about that anymore? Like, what age do you think it is?
I think it may literally be visual acuity goes down, so he's grooving himself in the mirror, and he's like, I'm good to go,
Mm.
but he just can't see, the
The
fly.
antenna's sticking out.
Yeah. Does your dad have crazy eyebrows and ear hair, Chase?
No. Nose hair a little bit, but not ear hair.
Okay.
Like he's not that type of like
It's not
Caucasian
that
where
bad
like
yet.
whereas like he's real hairy. No, he's not that hairy of a guy. Like he has
Okay.
facial hair, but that's really about it.
Okay. Do you have more facial hair than him then, with the goatee that's going on now?
We're both really good at growing this.
You got the dagger point.
The
coming
red
out of the
yeah.
hot
bottom.
beard.
Yeah.
Mine doesn't really connect on this side too much, but like he's what basically double my age, so like yeah, he has a higher beard line because it's just
Okay.
more time, more testosterone.
That's optimistic then. You'll get there
Yeah.
over time then.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I'm not
All
too
right.
worried.
Serious question from Quomad. GHRs, reverse hypers. Are the accessories worth the equipment investment, or do other barbell movements suffice for most lifters? Chase, short answer on this one?
I'm gonna go with the later. That barbell movements will suffice for most lifters.
Yeah.
And again, like I'm I'm working in a demographic where I'm not going to put someone's 55-year-old mother or grandmother on a reverse hyper or a glute ham raise.
Yeah.
That's going to fuck them up.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to have that shit in my gym.
Mm-hmm.
But like if I have like some elite level lifter and like I'm trying to manage his stress and get more hamstring work or more, quad work of some sort, I'm going to use that machine.
Yeah, you can fuck around with them.
Yeah.
Frankly, I would rather have someone do a Romanian deadlift. Like I think a Romanian deadlift accomplishes everything the GHR, the reverse hyper does. And then you can do Romanians in the sets of 25 to 15. If you're like, oh, I can't handle the axial load, I can't, I don't want to RDL 325 like Mr. T was, then you can do 185 and you can do them paused with like a 3-second tempo on the way down and do it for a set of 20. And you'll be like, wow, I literally tore both my hamstrings off. So the RDL, the stiff like a deadlift, I think really cover this. A lot of people shit on lunges, but like if you do a really good quality long lunge, you're not going to run into knee issues if they're programmed well. And you can just hold on to a plate. You can hold on to some dumbbells and it doesn't cost. I think a reverse hyper is literally like $600. I'm not sure how much
Jesus
actually
Christ.
right now, Westside reverse hyper. Excuse me, everybody. It is $800 and delivery is $275.
That's some bullshit, dude.
Right. Yeah. So do some RDLs and some lunges. I don't think I could ever justify. Yeah. Yeah. I do them all the time. They are absolutely horrific to do. Yeah. The gym that I'm working out of now, we have like 100-yard strip of turf in the middle of it. And then I'll do my deadlifts and I don't feel like doing anything else. So I'll just grab like some 15s or something and I'll just lunge up and down it a few times.
Just get like butt ass naked and just go lunging.
Just grueling, dude. Johnny G said he's ordering one now.
Of course. So he can fucking tear his hamstrings again.
Yeah. Keep tearing your hamstrings, John. Right. Okay. We're back to it. We covered strength standards. That's what Chase said was super reasonable to expect. Low 2s on the bench, low 100s-ish, 135-ish for the press, high 200s for the squat, low 300s for the deadlift. Super reasonable.
Yeah.
The transition period, I would say what you should expect is that you're transitioning out of a stock LP over a series of like 3-ish weeks. Is that fair, Chase?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not going to last long because shit's just petering out. You're handling a lot of stress at that point. You can't just jump ship into like an intermediate style programming because you still need to modify some stuff and make sure like things are working at the most optimum they can. But during that time of like that transition phase, it's just going to be fucking brutal. And it should be because we can't lose that.
Yeah, exactly. You can't lose your momentum, and then also you can't tolerate the volume of an actual intermediate or advanced program. So if you just try to hop to one, it just won't work. So when you're in early intermediate, so let's say this is month 4 through 6, I tell people that their primary task is recalibrating their expectations and what they think their pace of gain is. Because in their first month, they were like, I put 80 pounds on my deadlift. Now I'm on month 5, I'm putting 15 pounds on my deadlift. Which is actually like amazing. Transfer that to a year. Like, what the hell? That's 180 pounds for a year, which is insane. So most of the time it's the early intermediate phase, months 4 through 6, you're recalibrating your expectations. You're recalibrating what you think your pace of gain is. Now, there's one thing to touch back on in the first, let's say 4 months. How aggressive are you in terms of body weight gain for, let's say, again, that, 5'10" guy who's 180 pounds?
I'm really aggressive. Like, you need to do this because it's going to make your novice in your program go from 3 months to either 6. So now it's double the length of you adding a bunch of weight to the bar, you doing everything fun and you seeing a bunch of gains versus cutting that time in half and having to going into an intermediate where things start to slow down a lot. And you're doing a lot of work, but you're not seeing as much results because of just the stress recovery adaptation cycle that we're seeing.
Yeah, because like if you are gaining 5 pounds, some of that's going to be muscle, and we're using that muscle. That's sort of the point. Now, when you're in that early intermediate phase, I will have to tell people that you need to slow down whatever you're doing on body weight. If you get a big fat guy who's losing a shit ton of weight really fast, as the programming changes, we're going to say, hey, don't lose weight as fast now, unless it's very easy. And if someone is bulking super hard, I don't let them keep bulking as hard as possible. Now that We've added a few sets here and there, and they're only putting on 2.5, 5 pounds a week. There's no reason for them to lay the body weight on that fast.
Yeah. Do you see that a lot, Alex? Like, I know you specialize with like a bunch of athletes, but like with my guys, it's like if we tell them to gain weight, they're like, oh, so I eat like I'm 26 again, and I can literally do whatever I want. So it's like I'm gonna go order pizzas,
Right.
Cokes, and all this other shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want you to gain muscle, not fucking body weight.
Yeah.
And
So
they're
what I tell people is that, your goal with dieting should be to find a happy maintenance diet where you can maintain your body weight. And when you were bulking, you add in like a MedRx bar, and it's a 400 calorie surplus. You're getting an extra 40 grams of protein, and it's a delicious snack. And when you're cutting, you take out, some carbs or some fat here and there. And let's say you go from chicken thigh to chicken breast.
yeah,
Like I want the toggle switch to be that easy.
yeah, that makes sense.
Because I'm generally working with people who they're either changing weight classes and has to be fast, or for the
Yeah.
most part they're staying pretty stable. And I like the cutting to be really subtle and the bulking to be, like a 400 calorie surplus is a decent surplus. As a natty lifter, you're not gonna gain a tremendous amount of muscle if you've been lifting for like 5 years already. So this is still for new people. So new people, you're like so much more sensitive, it's unreal. So when you're gaining a pound a week, a significant portion of that's going to be muscle. If I told Chase to gain a pound a week or 2 pounds a week, it basically would just be fat.
Yeah.
Not much of it would be muscle at all. All right, so this covers kind of months 1 through 6 here. Let's say 6 through 12. You are like a late or actual intermediate now. Do you find this is begging the question, so forgive me. I find that this sort of 6 to 12 month period, this sort of establishes how fast they're going to progress almost through their entire career. Like if someone has let's say you're in month 10 and you're like, oh man, going from 415 to 420 on my deadlift triple took me like 2 weeks to set up. That's going to hold, I think, pretty reasonably for a long time. It's not going to get rapidly faster or rapidly slower.
No.
Is that pretty fair?
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. Yeah. So like let's say the latter half of your first year, and this is of course assuming you're programming correctly. This is really going to set up where your brain should be on like how long it's going to take you to get a little bit of a PR. And then this is also where I tell people that you want to put in like more specific goals. Like in the beginning, I just say you don't even want to have a goal outside of just training. Your goal should be the process. And then eventually it's like, do you want to pick a sport back up? Do you want to go play, recreational basketball or softball? Do you want to actually get jacked and lead out? Has your doctor been bugging you about how fucking fat you are and you need to lose weight? What's this conversation like for you, Chase? Let's say someone's been lifting for like 10 months at your gym.
Man, ours is a little bit different because it's like everyone's so keen on the strength that they don't really know what to do with it now. And like the thought of a lot of like the older guys going to do a competition or a sport, they're just like, no, we're not fucking doing that. The physique stuff, definitely. The health stuff, yes, but that's kind of more solved in like the kind of the earlier stages, just like watching the diet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's really more so about like looking at like the block training for them. So it's like keeping them interested and about like, this week or this block, we're going with like just trying to ramp up like a heavy thing on our squat. Like for example, we used to do like the day of the deadlift for October. So now we're pulling like a heavy deadlift.
Are you guys doing that this next month?
No, because I have a lot of people going to a meet in November. So we're just
Okay.
doing like a party. But
right.
If we were to do that, or like just do whatever kind of peaking thing that we wanted to do in terms of like a block training. That's kind of like the most extravagant people kind of get with us. Like they're not trying to specialize in anything. They're not.
Whenever do you have people who are often, you've been training with them for like a year and a half and any sort of period similar to this, and they're kind of like, what do I do with this now? What do you have that conversation often?
Not often, man. A few people have, and like we'll tell them like, hey, you probably just need to go do a meet. If you actually like barbell stuff, like let's just go do a meet. I can handle you, and let's see where we're at.
It's like encouraging people just to do something. It's like,
exactly.
Go try anything,
The other side of that coin is like people who already are doing stuff, like they'll just come to me and they'll just be like, hey, I got something already planned at this time, either like a meet or a game at this point. How do we need to tailor the program to fit this accordingly? I'm like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do.
Okay. Yeah, spot on. Specialization, I think, like if someone's like, hey, I think this is honestly where like goal setting comes in. You can
Mhm.
really kind of mix it up with the goals. Like if someone comes in the first few months and they're like, hey, like I really want to press 225, it's like I don't like that's cool, but it's not even it's not it's A, not on the radar, but it's not going to change our course of action.
Yeah.
Whereas like now this is when you can start thinking about if you do want to have any fun parlor tricks. If you're like, you know what, I want to deadlift 600, or I want to do a chin up with 100 pounds, or I want to press 225, something like that. This is when you can start aiming yourself at a specific thing.
Mhm.
Whereas if you do want to be a deadlift specialist or the chin up or the press or something like that, that's where that comes in. And then block training, I think that does really help people conceptualize progress. So saying it's like, hey, you're going to put in 3 months of work to have one sick ass day where you set a bunch of PRs.
Mhm.
Um, so that's sort of second half of it. Chase, do you ever have to talk to people about let's say their standards or expectations from like kind of what they see in the broader fitness sphere versus what they're doing? Like people who are like, oh, why, I see people deadlifting 800 pounds. How am I having such a hard time deadlifting 315?
No, it's the opposite. It's just like people getting over that hump of like, man, 135 is it. Like I'm strong now. It's like, no, you're not strong. Like you
Okay.
just need to
Okay.
keep pushing it. Yeah,
Right.
because like it's just mine's just the general public, whereas like
Yeah.
you're kind of dealing with a different mindset of people with like athletes. Because like I'm the same way. It's like, why am I not clean and jerking like 250 right now? It's like, well,
Hmm.
it's just going to take time, and it's a skill set that I have to learn and practice and train for. But again, like the general public is just like, oh fuck, like I'm getting strong. This is awesome. But now, what do you want to go do with that strength, or how do you want to continue this strength?
Yeah. How do you want to continue your relationship with fitness?
Mhm.
Um, so I think this may be a more, if you're like terminally online, if you're someone who's on the Strength Shrink subreddit, if you are sitting down and watching people talk for an hour about, uh, expectations and form checks and things like this, you're probably interested more on this end, of like figuring out like, do you have the capacity to be a good athlete one day? Are you kind of on this right side of the bell curve? Are you smack down in the middle, an average, which almost all of us are? How about this? Are you like a Chase, a Mick, or an Alex? That's that's probably pretty good. We got Chase on the far right side of the bell curve. We got Mick far left side of the bell curve. And then
It's
me.
the first
I'd
time
probably
I've ever been described as far left.
yeah, yeah. We have far left Mick now.
When
Yeah,
you're a
far.
centrist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm the radical centrist here. Yeah, so kind of where you wanna place yourself. Um, I've never had to tell anyone that they're a good athlete, and they just don't know about it. So like, if
Mhm.
you go into the gym and you're like, "Am I in Fitness Idol's physique or deadlift one day?" Chances are, absolutely not. If you had the capacity to do that, everyone would have been talking about how strong your jawline was in seventh grade. And they're like, wow, look at this handsome young man.
Mhm.
That
Or your
probably,
eyebrows, one or the other.
yeah, it probably didn't happen to you. Like if you could dunk a basketball in like 10th grade and people are like, that's not normal. If you had those activities happen, you're probably on the right side of the bell curve.
Yeah.
But it's so rare. Have you had anyone walk in who hasn't had like, I know you maybe had like an ex-football player before,
Hmm.
but have you had anyone who's just had no relationship with fitness who is actually just like a high responder?
Um, trying to think, man. Maybe like one, and that was like, uh, I think someone in Houston. But yeah, it was just like startlingly like, are you sure like you've never played anything before? And he's
Like, are
just
you
like,
lying? Yeah.
no, he's just no, just never was interested,
Okay.
and just like has this natural ability of like looking at something and then being like, okay, it looks kind of
Yeah.
like this, so I need to do this.
Yeah. That it's so rare. I mean, like
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to be in rooms with like a lot of really good athletes. They're all, not coincidentally, very handsome. They have like giant heads. Their jaws are huge. Their skin is like perfect, like all over. You're like, how does he have so much perfect hair? It's crazy. It's because they're just like paragons of health and genetic output, and we see them and we're like, what the hell's going on here?
Mm,
It's like you're not going to see kind of like a pencil necked guy with like absolutely no jawline and like super tiny hands. He's
mhm.
not going to deadlift 500 one day. You know,
No.
he's going to have a kick-ass training career where he deadlifts 355 and that's it. You know, um, Whereas like someone like looks more like a Giga Chad, they're gonna have Giga Chad results. They have that sort of genetic stock. And like even if you just think height, like Chase, what you're like 6'2"?
6'1".
Yeah, so you're 6'1", he looks like he's 6'2", with sneakers on, easy 6'3", like broad shoulders. And it's like, okay, yeah, this guy has a pretty high capacity. And then you have and then we don't even have to mention.
Is that the only reason I'm here now? Is that
Just for the contrast.
We don't even have to say anything about it. We understand what's going on.
Hey, don't knock my 16-inch vertical lead.
Yeah. So what I tell most people is that you're going to be average, and that's totally fine because most people are average. And then lifting really is a game of attrition. An average guy is going to be stronger than a talented guy who just doesn't train hard in like 5 years. So this 100% is a game of attrition. For people who have a low response, I would say is if you're just generally very small, if you're like 5'3" or 5'4" as a male, and you're like 5'5", 5'6", chances are you're not going to be very strong. Chances are your athletic response to things is just not going to be, it's not going to be as robust as someone who's like 6'2" and is just, they've been so much more anabolic, Chase, I'm not sure the last time you've been around like teens before, or recently. 23andMe, genetic profile. Good question, Sarah. But like sometimes I just at the gym I was visiting last Friday, I saw a kid who I thought was literally 11 and he was 16.
Yeah, I had a kid in our gym who was very small, and one of our members thought he was in elementary, but he was a freshman in high school.
Yeah, things like that. That kid, he is not going to be a world crusher under the bar, So and then we made fun of it even 1 or 2 streams ago. There was a guy who was like supposed to be 19 and he looked like he was like 45 years old.
Yeah.
You remember that, Chase?
Yeah.
So it's like just the androgenic effects of testosterone exposure as a child, prenatal. It's like so far reaching. These people are good athletes, just look manly as hell. Yeah. So if you're a low responder, I would say if you have like really good programming and you're really paying attention to everything, and your LP ends up with you benching like 145, 165, you're going to be in the low end of the response. Where would you say these sort of people, like just smaller guys, end up on like a deadlift and a squat, Chase?
I could still see him pull like 315, if not like 295, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
like those are way more. The lower body lifts, I think, are way more reliable.
Yeah,
it's like the press and the bench.
They're gonna have a shit ton of time.
Yeah,
just
and
trying to get like 225 on the bench and pressing
it's gonna take years. Yeah, it's gonna take years. Like I have one guy right now. He's just like a super small frame. He's actually the big one in his family. He's from Mumbai. He lives in DC now. But he's like the big one in the family, and he's like 5'6". And he's
That's
like,
insane,
it's great because he's like, I've been bulking so hard, and he's 160 pounds now. And all of his relatives were like, hey man, you need to lose weight. You're gonna have a heart attack, and he's 160. So it's just like his deadlift right now is, I think he's hitting 335 for easy triples, and his bench is like really hard fight. It's a hard fight to move his triple from like 165 to 170.
Yeah.
So it's like that's sort of someone who's on this left side of the bell curve. They're not going to be benching 315 really, unless they commit their whole life to it.
Tell him to get a cow to just keep it there so we can go mad all day.
Yeah, just an udder in the mouth.
Yeah. His wife, he actually just told me on a call, I think it was 3 days ago. He was like, my wife's having a kid. And I was like, yay.
Nice.
Congratulations.
There you go. So it's working.
There you go. Yeah. So things I would say to aid your expectations. Chase, run through this list. Do you think any of this is scandalous? Do you agree with all these points?
Definitely gaining weight is going to be
first priority.
It's going to be probably the most easily attainable thing that we can do, because it's a thing that we basically do like 3-4 times a day with eating, if you're supposed to doing it right. So that's a lot of ability and a lot of shit that's in your control. Now, doing your homework, like the programming, not so much in your control, but if you find a reliable coach who actually knows what the fuck he's doing, again, you can decide whether that's a good coach or not. Same thing with a dietitian if you struggle with nutrition.
Yeah, like if you're eating mostly like Pop-Tarts and popcorn and chips, it's not going to work.
You're fucking up. Yeah, you're fucking up.
You can still gain weight, but It's not going to be good.
Exactly. And then the lifestyle reorganization, training is sacred. I think that kind of takes a little bit of some time with some people, like actually being like, okay, man, like I've been in a month with this. Let's see how far I can go. Like I've actually committed to not doing this weekly meeting at this time because now I've got to train. Like I've had several people do that where it's like now they're starting to do big time changes with their schedule in order to prioritize training, and that takes a while. That takes a while, unless like you're this just crazy, insane person who just is a natural athlete and is just like, no, fuck this. I'm gonna go live out in the middle of the woods and lift logs, like starting, stuff like that. But sleeping is another thing that you can kind of control too. So I would kind of lump that in with like gaining weight, just making sure like you're just anabolic in general and stuff like that. But yeah, I think these are all reasonable. Definitely the first two are going to be more in like the more localized general things that you control. And then you got more of like the global type stuff with like the lifestyle stuff, because there's just a lot more factors that's out of your control with the lifestyle stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, like if you have a few kids running around, like actually sleeping is going to be hard.
Yeah.
Like
good luck.
Like how much willpower can you muster after you've put a few kids to bed and you've worked all day to like really go for it under the bar? That's hard. Like making sure that you have a dedicated training time, a dedicated pre-workout meal, you're really getting after it. Like that's hard. So
really
you can
stressful job shit. Yeah,
exactly. Like you can control the weight gain, you can kind of control your nutritional habits, and you can also, you should have the brain and the eye for programming for sure. Okay, here we go. This is an excellent question. So we have Diehard Pizza Man here, a man of the za. He's 5'9", 170. He hit 315 for a single after 2.5 months of NLP, with no experience before. Where would you say he is in? And he started at 140. Excellent question. Chase, what do you think?
I maybe somewhere along the average, maybe a little bit above average. But I mean, how old are you, Diehard Pizza Man?
So I put on 30 pounds in 2.5 months.
Diehard Pizza Man. Yeah, that's a very relevant question for you.
Yeah, because like if you're on the younger side, it's you're average. But if you're on like kind of the older side, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you went from like if you started when you were,
okay, let's see. So you're
23.
Sorry, man. Yeah.
And how much extra pizza is he eating?
That's true. It's a good question. How many slices you get in a week?
What style of pizza?
But the important thing is like you're doing this at a time where still like you're very fucking anabolic, and you're gonna see a lot more gains at this time of your life versus if you're gonna start this at like 45 or 43, somewhere around there. So you're still doing good, man. And I would just keep training, and you don't know where like this thing can go. Yeah,
because like a single, I think if you're hitting 315 for a single, your working set is what, 280?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range. So 280, 2.5 months in, like it's not unreasonable for you at the 6-month mark to get, 395, 405 for a single. And then by the end of the year, you're at like 365 to 385 for a set of 5. Yeah. That's an amazing first year. I would say it's a little bit right words,
Yeah, like if Rip was here, he'd tell you like you need to think like 205 or like 210 for like the utmost realm of like where you're gonna peak in terms of like your training, and that's gonna still take you at least another 2 years, 3 years. Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
Yeah, putting all these bricks down, it takes quite some time.
Yeah.
Back to Sarah's earlier question. Yeah. Did you read that, Chase?
Yeah, I'm catching up a little bit.
Yeah, so Pizza Man, like 210 as in body weight, like terminal body weight. Yeah. So I think that generally genetics are a really good local predictor. So if you have athletic parents, you're likely going to be an athletic child. But if you're like, hey, I'm descended from a clan of people 7 generations ago before we moved to America who used to be really strong, rather, it's not super useful data. I would say look at how fat your parents are. Look at your parents' eating habits. If they were relatively athletic,
in other words.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, is your dad, like a 5'3" man from Honduras, and is your mother a 6'2" woman from Norway, and they're together, and you're like, where am I going to end up?
Yeah, that's going to be an awesome mix.
That's good. Exactly. Yeah. How tall is your dad, Chase?
He's probably about 5'11", 6 foot. I'm a little bit taller than him.
Right. So yeah. So generationally, you had a little bit better nutrition, access to calories, training. You're
Yeah,
slightly larger.
exactly.
Spot on. Yeah, I'm slightly taller and slightly wider than my dad as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think locally genetics are super informative.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I hate CBTI or CBT as an acronym just in general, because we have people think CBD the drug, people think that internet category which Mick is thinking of. Mick's probably into
I
CBT.
don't even know what it is.
But
Like,
yeah,
what
I
is
don't know
it?
what it is
I
either.
have no idea what it
Well,
is.
look that up, boys.
I'm scared.
And then there's
Yeah,
cognitive
right.
behavioral therapy. Yeah, that's the third one. All right, and then here's
Anyway,
what I
at
would
least I've got
say.
something else to blame my parents for now.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd be like, why are you guys so unathletic? This is the last thing I promise. Whatever. It's what is the most common forms of self-sabotage? Chase, pick from this, make your own. What do you think? What would you say is the
What I
most
see is
first
like,
year, by the way, not past that, first year of lifting?
yeah, what I see is like skinny fat delusions, fat guy delusions, basically just anything to do with like some body dysmorphia shit.
Okay.
And then maybe number 1, 2, why is it so fun or why is it not so fun type shit like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
just interest in
disinterest in
doing it.
training.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's brushing your teeth. You're investing in your body that's going to be alive for like 8
Mhm.
decades. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be fun. It will be fun eventually. I think that if I had to say the most common, yeah, you changed my mind, Chase. I was going to say it's moving the goalposts and getting distracted, but I think actually it's the body dysmorphia
Well,
stuff.
it's no,
I
it's
think.
but you're also working with a different demographic. Like athletes, I'm again like kind of like the same way that I think about it is just like I'm fucking up here, so I have to go change this and then go do something else to make
Yeah,
this other thing better.
it's like you were like, I need to take cold showers at night, and you're like,
Definitely.
you're like, what happened to me?
Yeah.
Now it's 1 a.m. and I can't go to sleep and I'm freezing.
Yeah.
Wait, was it a cold shower or was it actually an ice bath?
And I actually did an ice bath, so I'd freeze little tubs of ice and
You
just
did
pop.
an ice bath before
At
bed.
home.
Yeah, like I mean, it wasn't that cold.
So
Like I
stupid.
dropped it down to like 55 degrees or some shit. It
Jesus
was stupid,
Christ,
dude. It
Chase.
was
Yeah, you
That's
just put your
amazing.
feet in it or something? Or what?
Did I do what?
You said you had like little tubs where you're just putting your feet in it or something? Or
No. Like I had the actual bathtub, but then like I froze like Tupperware things of
Of
water
ice.
to make giant ice cubes and
You
just
made
like plop them
giant
in there.
ice cubes.
I shit you not. Yes. So I just set them bitches in there and I made like a drink of chase basically.
Right, you're just rubbing a giant Tupperware
Yeah,
ice
just
cube
all
all
over
over.
me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, we're gonna put this under self-sabotage for sure. Giant ice cubes.
Yeah,
Giant
it's
ice.
number 8.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the body dysmorphia, it is truly crippling. It's
Yes,
crippling
it's huge.
for most people. They're like, I'm getting too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm too something. It's like, it is so tempting to divert course in the
Mhm.
short term because of how you think your body looks. You're really bad. Everyone is really bad at actually knowing how their body looks. Yeah, I think 4 and 5. Yeah, whenever you said that, I was like, you know what? Actually, I think that's right. I think these may be the most important ones. You have
Yeah.
like fat guys who think that they have more purchase to get more fat, and then they're like, "What
Yeah,
happened
they
to
think
me?"
it's totally fucking fine to be fat, and it's like, no, dude.
Right? Yeah, they're like, "I'm training like an Olympic athlete. I did 15 reps of squats today."
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
"Hold on."
Let me go eat fucking keys until my fucking arteries burst.
Yeah, you burned maybe 60 calories during
Yeah,
this workout.
exactly.
Yeah, fat guy delusions are really rough. The skinny fat delusions of saying like I need to start bodybuilding. I'm only doing 15 reps of bench in a workout. Like what's going on? Like skinny fat delusions are crazy too.
Yeah.
And the skinny fat people can also at the same time really want to lose weight because they're fixated on the small amount of fat that they have.
Yeah.
That's another terrible one. Yeah. So then I would say like moving the goalposts and getting distracted, it kind of flows out of all of these. Some people like to add cardio and then that really fucks them up too. Bodybuilding. Yeah. I think I would be very confident in saying it's I agree with Chase's answer on that one
Mhm.
for sure.
It's whatever the mainstream media is saying. Because like
Yeah.
a few years ago, it was cardio and bodybuilding and all this shit.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, you need to just do resistive weight training. But now it's like,
Mhm.
now you have to look good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's whatever the fuck the mainstream media is saying.
Super sensitive to the demographic.
Yeah.
Okay. Any parting shots for today, guys? We did a long stream. This was a very long stream today. Incredible episode.
No, I mean the only parting thing I have is just don't fucking watch the news.
Yeah, don't watch the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want videos on the show,
How do you stay in touch with the world, Chase?
I'm just not. I don't know what the fuck
I just
the
don't.
celebrities are doing.
Yeah, I just go outside and look at the sky, and I'm like, is it?
Is it raining today?
Any big smoke clouds? Any big plumes of ash?
My news source is my mother. If I know I get a phone call in the morning, I know some shit's going down.
Right. You're like, hey,
That's
brother could be dead. President could be killed. Anything.
Wear a mask,
she hits the heads
home.
Right. Yeah. Follow Chase's Instagram. Reach out to me on my website. Videos on the show. Support at Strength Out Club. Thanks for watching, everybody.